Ray Davies' review of Revolver by the Beatles for Disc and Music Echo magazine caused a bit of controversy in August 1966. And on the following issue of the magazine, George Harrison responded to Ray's review. This issue of the magazine was published on August 6, a day after Revolver was released. The first single from the album was also released that day. This was the first time the Beatles took an LP track and issued it as a single in Britain. When asked about the new single, George said, "We just thought that we should put it out instead of sitting back and seeing dozens of cover versions all getting hits. We might as well cop the hit as well as anybody else. We all think it's a good commercial single. I like both songs. Yellow Submarine will appeal to old-age pensioners and this kind of mob, whereas Eleanor Rigby will probably only appeal to Ray Davies types." George Harrison was commenting here on Ray Davies' review of the Beatles' new LP. George continued, "He's entitled to his opinion, but I think if Ray Davies met us, he might change his tune. I'm sure he's more like us and thinks more alike than he thinks. I think Ray Davies and the Beatles would have plenty in common." George Harrison was also asked about the Beatles' upcoming American tour. George commented, "We're not doing much at the moment, but we've got to go and get beaten up in America in a fortnight. I'm not looking forward to it much except for California, which comes at the end of the tour."
Some things are eternal, and the Beatles remain as irreverent and irritating as ever. Any reports that they have gone religious or have changed their tune are only wishful thinking. This is Ray Duncan reporting.
A week later, Record Mirror magazine featured Eric Clapton talking about the album. This was a particularly productive period in Clapton's career. John Mayall's Bluesbreakers had just released the so-called Beano album featuring Clapton on guitar. And that same month, Cream made their debut performance at the Windsor Festival. However, many people missed their performance because they were watching the World Cup final on television. Record Mirror reported, Eric Clapton was walking down the Charing Cross Road carrying a copy of Revolver and heading for a restaurant used as a hangout for musicians in Old Compton Street. He invited me to come in. Eric said, "Have you heard this?" "Oh, you've probably heard it hundreds of times, you reviewed it. It's great. Everything on it is fantastic." The Record Mirror asked Clapton about his current favorite guitarists. Eric said, "I like John Mayall's new guy, Peter Green. He's good. He's going in the right direction and steering straight ahead with his own ideas. If I was sure that everything George Harrison played was his own ideas, I'd say he was good. But I got this feeling it's Paul telling him what to do." Clapton continued, "A year ago I used to listen to all blues bands but not anymore because they're just playing blues and they're not developing their own ideas. I'm tired of being called a specialist musician. People thought Cream was going to be a blues band but it's not. It's a pop group really. There are only about 4 groups in the country who are developing their own direction, the Beatles and the Kinks, and the Small Faces and the Who. You reach your peak when you're 22 or 23. It's to do with sterility and reaching your manhood, the sexual thing. When you start to go downhill, you should pack it in. I'll pack it in when I start to go downhill, but I don't know when it will come. Maybe tomorrow, maybe when I'm 30.
In the town where I was born.
A week before, Record Mirror's journalist Tony Hall commented on the controversy regarding the amount of cover versions of tracks from the Revolver album that were being released as singles. The journalist wrote, "Honestly, I don't know what the record business is coming to. It was bad enough with Rubber Soul. Then it happened again with Aftermath by the Stones. But what's already happened with Revolver is just ridiculous. I'm talking about British cover version singles of album track tunes. For weeks now, any recording manager who knew anyone who knew any of the Beatles has been asking, can you get me an advance copy of the LP so I can cover one of the songs? The official release date of Revolver is tomorrow, and it's also the release date of something like 15 different singles of the various songs on the LP. There are 4 or 5 versions of Good Day Sunshine, about 3 of Here, There and Everywhere. In fact, most of the Lennon-McCartney songs. There's even the She Trinity's version of Yellow Submarine, which means 2 versions on EMI. But thank God, nobody attempted to cover Tomorrow Never Knows. How many of these covers will sell, I wouldn't like to guess. But if some newcomer makes the charts with, for instance, Good Day Sunshine, who's the hit? The artist or the song? I'll put my money on the song. Let's look back. The Overlanders got to #1 with Michelle. But what's been heard of them since? The Truth and the St. Louis Union shared sales on the song Girl. David Garrick did Lady Jane by the Stones. And there were umpteen others. The one exception, of course, is Chris Farlow's version of the Stones' Out of Time, a great production and performance. But the thing that bugs me about most of these covers is that the majority are rushed copies of the originals with little thought put into them. And in some cases, the singers don't even grasp what John and Paul meant in the lyrics.